topic that always comes up. And I have to at least preface this before Jason gets into it with the Jane Slater tweet that went viral yesterday, is we are different. We are. Just like the athletes we cover are so far removed from the average day-to-day and are held to different standards, sports media, what it is to be in front of a microphone, what it is, and for better or worse, it's just treated different than working at Apple or working at Google or working at fill in the blank industry. It doesn't mean it's better. It doesn't mean it's worse. There are goods, there are bads, there are issues. We all are jaded for different reasons, but just to set this up, you do have, and I'm not saying that we're above or better. We're not. A lot of times it's like, we're at the mercy of you, the stream, people watching. We do this for you. Otherwise it doesn't work. Yeah. So that's my point in all of this, is that we do have to look at this with a little bit of a different lens than IBM. Is IBM still around, or is that like Google now?
Yeah, that would be like Google. I think IBM is still around, but it's not the company it was. Well, the thing is this though, is this is a job, and I think it's always important for people that do the job of sports media and in particular content creators, right? People that, have to perform. And that's what it is, a performance, and it is entertainment. But I think you have to remember that there's a line of people that will go a mile long that would do your job for cheaper than you do it. And a line of people out the door that think they can do your job because they hear it and sounds easy. Right. They go, well, you just talk about sports, some stats. I can do that, but that's not what this job is. That's not it. This job is way more than that. It's very little of that, to be honest with you.
Over.
So Jane Slater put out the tweet, and she said, I posted an opportunity for an unpaid internship. She works for NFL Network, and I'm amazed the comments I get. It's not even for me. It's for someone else. And I would have jumped at it in college. I had 3 unpaid internships in school, double majored, and had a job. Shaking my head. And this obviously went crazy because a lot of people look at that as you're exploiting people for free labor. And the unpaid intern thing should be a thing of the past. And so many people in media jumped on her tweet and said, well, that's how I got in. That's how I got my foot in the door. And other people were outraged going, if that's what you need to work for free, unpaid labor to get your foot in the door, there's a problem with the industry. Well, first of all, it's not unpaid labor. You're not bringing an intern in and saying, hey, why don't you take care of billing?
Right.
Or why don't you program the radio station? You do the imaging, or why don't you just go and host a show? That's not what it is. There are some menial tasks, pulling tape, pulling sound, and things like that, answering phones, that are elements of being an intern, unpaid, going to events, being a part of the road crew, helping promote the radio station. But it's all in an effort to expose you to the different elements of the radio station, get little tasks to see how you do with them. And then it is often, hey, you were a good intern. Let me hire you to be part of our road crew. I'll hire you to start producing. And that's how you start your career. Just cold calling to hire at radio stations, putting out something that says, hey, we're hiring for a position of producer. You wouldn't believe the emails I would get, Eitan. When I had to post the job at one point at one of the radio stations for the midday show, we made a change. This is before I was doing it. No, right. On the air. I'm getting guys, hey, I work at the Wendy's drive-thru. I think I would be, you wouldn't believe the cover letters and of people just not even close to qualified, have never worked. This is market number 5. It's top 5 media market.
And people, you're saying they worked at a Wendy's drive-thru. Did you say, dude, I can't even understand you when you're in the drive-thru. How am I going to understand you in there?
Exactly. Yeah. But look, it's the way I came through. I told the story. I worked at a beer distributor at Penn State when I changed my major. Guy came in to a drive-through beer distributor, paid with a check. I saw his name. I said, hey, I was thinking about doing an internship. He said, I'm the morning show guy. We'd love to have the beer guy as an intern. That's how my career started. I was the stunt boy, intern, schmuck on the show, coffee getter. You know what I mean? That's what I did.
Right. Now, let me say this, because Matt Mullen, and we should just get Matt on, to be honest with you, because he's going to be having a conversation with me on the show while we're doing the show. But I'll read his. Well, all right. Well, let me just make sure. Are you okay, Matt, with me reading the text? because I don't want to then break that trust either. Because he makes the
point. You got to know it's for public consumption.
No, but what it is he's making a good, reasonable counterpoint. I happen to disagree with it based off my own experiences, but I wanted to bring this up. So Matt's response is Jason's missing the point. It's not just about doing the work for free. It's that there's a large segment of society, mostly minorities, who can't afford to work for free. So it's a barrier for entry into the profession.
Totally agree.
Part of the reason why the industry is so white. Now, let me say this.
I agree with Matt on that. Yes.
I disagree with the means to the end. I think that in my experiences, there have been people that I've worked with that are doing their own podcasts, that are doing their own YouTube shows that probably nobody knows about, or they have their own workings, that they're doing a second job.
Yeah.
That they're doing. So it's not that a person of color, let's say a minority or whatever term that you're using to describe this person, this term in our society that we have to classify people with. It's not that they can't physically do both. It's that programmers, it's that people who are in charge of hiring are not looking. They're not opening up as wide of, they're not casting as, which I think are two different things, is my point. I think what happened with Jane Slater and the responses to that on the line of what Matt is saying is, well, a lot of people in this country can't afford to do both. And I look at it and I say, wait a second. You have a lot of people that I follow, that I interact with, that I could point to right now that are working second jobs or first jobs to support their podcast, to support their growth of their content that, as you mentioned earlier, Jay, are creating. So I don't think people can have it both ways.
No, you're right. I mean, look, while I was an intern, I was still working at the beer distributor to support myself. Yeah.
So I don't see that. Here's my point. If it's all about getting reps in front of a mic, in front of a camera, if it's all about reps, and that's what everybody will tell you is going to make you a better host, is going to make you better, is reps. If it's all about that, then what's the difference? I don't see much of a difference between going to a radio station, working for free and getting reps at the studio and working a second job, as opposed to working a job and in your free time running a podcast or running your own content. It's the same principle to me.
No, it is. And look, you're right. You got to do more shows. You got to keep, and I've always told everybody, a lot of people, because I've been in management for so long and high-end management at big radio stations, they always ask me, what's the key? And I always tell them, the operations guy who makes the schedule, he's your best friend, and you never tell him no. If he calls you and says, hey, can you do this? You can. Because the moment, there's so many people that I've had working for me over the years that always say, hey, I want to do more shifts. I want more shifts. And then when I call them to do a shift, they say, I can't do it. So
I'm there. And then you call me after that person.
Well, if I call you on the first call and you always say yes, guess who's getting the chance first? The guy who always says yes. Because the last thing I want to do, running a radio station that's on 24 hours a day, needs 3 people there at all times, holidays and everything, is make 7 calls to fill a hole. If I can make 1 call, I'm calling that guy. So I said in my career to my first boss, I said, the only amount of notice I need for a shift you need filled is the amount of time it takes me to get from where I am to the radio station, provided I'm sober.
That's another thing too, that I guess has to be factored in when you work in radio. Yeah. But that's it. I mean, that's it. Whenever anybody asks me, hey, what are you doing? What did you do? I was available. That's it. I made myself available.
Number one thing.
Yes. And even that comes from, well, what if you're working a 9 to 5 and things along those lines? There has to be some level of sacrifice that you make. My point of what we
Devon, for example, worked a 9 to 5 and also went in every night. I think he probably does. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he did. He was an intern. And then he was my first producer at the Fanatic.
Right.
And then look what he's doing now. I mean, the guy's an expert on the Sixers, and he's grown his career, and he's gone through the past. And he's not a white guy.
No, and the problem, here's my problem with the people that have a problem with this, that are bringing this up, and where I would disagree, or maybe not even full on disagree head to head with Mullen's point, but maybe come at it from a different angle, is it's not that Devon and people who look like Devon Givens can't juggle or balance or do both and are at a disadvantage of that. It's that not enough programmers are going to Devon Givens and saying, can you do this?
Yeah, that's giving him the opportunity.
Right. That's different. And I don't think
different conversation.
Conflated. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't think the two are hand in hand. To your point, I don't think that one comes with the other. I think to Matt's point, though, there is obviously
that's what I'm saying. I disagree
Yeah.
with the means to the end. The end is
Yeah.
right. We definitely disagree with that.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
again, it takes away from people who are creating their own content and haven't had the opportunity to get in front of the right people due to the same circumstance that would prevent other people from getting in front of the right people in a hiring process. But I think it all, I don't know, it almost insults, I think, the person that when you respond to Slater and you're not Mullen, I'm not saying that with Mullen, I'm saying with the people that were attacking, it insults the person who you're actually trying to defend.
Yeah.
Because you're assuming that they're not capable of working multiple things at once, where what we're trying to tell you is that they're just not getting the opportunity to.
Yeah.
Now, listen to Culver, what Culver passed up.
Oh, man, that was a good setup. No, when I was in college, a friend of mine did a solid for me because I was interested in it, but I wasn't really in the process. I wasn't really going after radio that much. I went to school in Southern California. I grew up in Southern California, so I needed to be on television, right? Because that's what we are all doing. But he did a solid for me. He's like, hey, I think I can get you an internship with a radio show. And I was like, you know what? All right, let's go and check it out. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into when I was going into this meeting, but it ended up being for the Jim Rome show, right? Which would have been a solid gig.
What year was this back with like Travis Rogers?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
This isn't my buddy Adam Hawk now doing the show recently.
This was like 96.
He was my intern. You know that, Hawk?
Was he?
At NBC Sports Radio, he was my intern. And I told him, I said, dude, just hire me. When you start running the show in like 5 years from now, hire me. And I love the fact that he's killing it. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I apologize.
Yeah, no, I believe I met Travis in that first initial meeting because she brought me in. She was interviewing me. She gave me a tour of the radio station. Jim Rome wasn't there yet, but all the producers and writers were in one room. They were all meeting with each other, and she's like, "There you go," and everyone said hi. And then she pulled me in, and my friend was with me, and he's doing me a solid and gave me this interview because he's already there working. He's already there interning. And I looked at it as, okay, you're wanting me to be here, but my mindset was like, I want to replace the stupid job that I have where I am being paid. So I need to be paid to do this as well. And basically what the offer was, she's like, I really like you. I really like your personality. Let me start you off on an internship and just see how it goes for a couple of, for the next couple of weeks or whatever, how long it was going to take. Totally unpaid. And I made the mistake of saying no.
Because you thought you'd just be working for free.
Because what I wanted to quit the job that I had, which I don't even remember what job I had. That's how stupid it was. I don't remember what job it was. I wanted to quit that job, just concentrate solely on this job, but I needed to be paid because I had bills.
Yeah.
And my time was money. I still needed, I was in school. I had a part-time job to pay the bills. And then afterwards, I still needed to have all this extra time to go out and party with my friends every single night.
You could have been in the jungle, man. You could have been in the jungle.
That's why I say hindsight is 20/20, because then to get into this one, you do take an internship where you're not being paid and you're just, you're working 18 hours a day, maybe sleeping 6, maybe sleeping 4. It all depends on which day it was, just to make it all happen for you.
Amazing, man. Amazing.
21-year-old me, 20-year-old, about 20. Yeah, it was about 20 or between 20 and 22.
Yeah.
Year-old me could not fathom the idea of taking an unpaid gig. I was like, I got to get paid for what I'm doing.
It's amazing. Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
But hindsight's 20/20. If I can go and smack that kid right now, I would.
This is a first. Me cutting Ron off to say we have to break.
Right?
It's the middle.
Only to bring me back.
Fake news with Ron. That's right. Next, it's the middle. PhillyVoice.com/the middle in SportsMap Radio. Oh my, we're back at 30. All right. Now, what is this? Joey B says here. Russo MLB Network segment sneeze versus fart review segment on his Sirius show. What? Do you have any idea what he's talking about?
I have no clue.
No. I can't believe, there were so many people upset. Like here's the thing though, and Matt as well, Mullen as well. I don't know the digital print business like radio and television, but for example, I'll give you a perfect example. I wasn't getting paid for those early hits I was doing on 5:45, right? 7:45. So I'm doing a 4-minute hit, if that, on Good Day, Fox 29 in the morning. And you remember back when we were both at 97.5, like I would take off on Thursday morning to go down and do a 4-minute television hit.
Yeah. Because it was an opportunity.
Exactly. And despite a couple of people saying, "Oh, you're an idiot. What are you doing? What are you doing?" Mike Jarek and others just keep coming. Producers just keep showing up. So what I did was I reverted back to when I was with you at IP. And every time I would get a call from, "Yep, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it."
Which is why I called you first.
Exactly. And they kept calling. And now it turned into Props and Locks. It turned into paid appearances on the television show.
Yeah.
So it's not because, and again, it's about availability. It's just about saying yes and being there. So I don't know the digital business, but I don't know if blogging, writing, columns, if it's much different than it is in our world. But that's pretty much what, like, I don't know do you know anybody that started where they were just hired in without being famous for something else, like a former athlete or a television guy now doing radio?
Put it this way.
Later.
Put it this way, and I'll use Zach Gelb as the subject. Zach Gelb's dad was the producer of Mike and the Mad Dog at WFAN.
Yeah, I mean, he's a legendary producer.
Yeah, I mean, he had every advantage to get into this business. You know what his first gig was? An intern for Angelo. He interned for Angelo Cataldi.
For free.
Yes, for free.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not, hey, son, here, because that's tough.
Yeah. Not, hey, here's a part-time gig for you. That kid's been doing Zach's not a kid anymore. Zach's been doing radio shows in his basement with high-end guests because of who his dad was.
Right.
Like Bob Costa's coming on when he was like 12. He's been doing reps since he was 12 years old.
Yep.
And he's a hustler. And he doesn't want anything handed to him. And he went in and did it. So I think just people look at it like like it's a sweat